So, welcome to Trav. Really appreciate your time. How's the season going, Trav? I know you probably had a bit of time off over Christmas, hopefully, but has it been a successful season so far for you?
Yeah, it's been busy for sure. Yeah, pretty full on coming back to Swindon and getting a lot of stuff in place. We've had a pretty successful season within the academy and the under-18s. Got to the third round of the FA Youth Cup. Unfortunately, lost to QPR, but the boys done themselves proud and competed as always against tougher opposition and higher category academies, and still in the PDL Cup, which is again really good experience for the boys. And yeah, it's been busy but positive so far. Yeah.
How did you find sort of managing expectations? Because you had a really successful FA Youth Cup last season, didn't you? How did you find the expectations? Did you feel like people were expecting more of you this year, or with it maybe that's internally or externally?
I think we externally there was probably a lot of pressure coming from the local media and things like that, where we just tried to block that out of stuff. We just made sure that the boys were taking it game by game, and using last season's experience as a positive rather than flipping it as a negative and thinking, oh, we've got to get past that, we've got to do better than last year's like cup run. And yeah, we tried to spin it as a positive and use those experiences to help the boys in the Youth Cup.
In terms of where it all started for you, are you where you are now? Is this somewhere where you've always had aspirations to do, or has it just sort of snowballed and just things are falling into place naturally? Like, where did the coaching begin for you alongside playing? Like, how did this come about?
I think I've been quite lucky in a sense where I've always kind of known what I wanted to do. I've always kind of known that I've wanted to be involved in coaching. To what extent, I never really knew. But I knew that I could play fairly well, but not brilliantly, not good enough to be professional, obviously. And I think my height had something to do with that as well, maybe. And from there, I just tried to get as much experience as possible and take as many opportunities as possible. Sorry, as possible to gain experience, really. So I started with like community coaching when I was about 15, just volunteer roles. Yeah, just community coaching for my local grassroots side. And from there, it kind of built and yeah, snowballed, as you said, where I then gained some paid work with Swindon in the community, just as a assistant coach, and then built onto a lead coach. And then coming out of college, I went to University of South Wales to kind of further my studies, with doing football coaching. And then again, like down there in South Wales, I tried to get as much experience as possible and take on as many opportunities as possible. So I was doing community coaching down there with Swansea, Cardiff, Merthyr as well. Like really, really good experiences in different cultures and different environments, which I think has really stood me in good stead for my coaching career, because that's just where you learn the fundamentals of coaching. So really good experiences for me.
Yeah, I think we've all been on that football coaching course at USW, and I think we've all had different experiences there in terms of our placements potentially, or the experience we've got in terms of the coaching alongside our studies. And I think that probably comes on to my next question in terms of what do you think's been like the biggest learning for you, or biggest inspiration for you? Has it been individual people that you've worked under as maybe a player, or has it been a coach you've worked with, or has it been an environment that you've worked in, or an experience that you've had that you thought that's what I learned the most from?
Yeah, I think being at USW, and working with some really top class coaches and some really good people there. I'll probably learned the most within my 3 years there. Ken's was brilliant with me, like playing and training under him. I think he really inspired me to kind of get that bug for goalkeeper coaching, and really his level of detail, just it was amazing. So it just kind of like showed me the levels that I wanted to get to as well. I mean, I know that you worked with him as well a little bit, and he lectured you on the course, and I thought just his engagement and yeah, his level of detail was just brilliant, and yeah, really inspirational for me anyway, personally.
Yeah, I had Ken's my B license assessor, and just really honest, and that's all you want from an assessor, really,
Yeah.
isn't it? You want someone who's going to be honest with you, and yeah, I really enjoyed having him. In terms of those different experiences, I think we speak about sort of the good times. What do you think has been the biggest challenge for you in that journey? I know you said that you at USW had lots of different experiences. Once you finished your degree, what came next for you after your degree?
So after my degree, I then went on to do a master's in education, and I think during that period where I come out of coaching a little bit, just whilst I was transitioning back from South Wales back home, and getting used to my new schedule with my masters and things like that, that I stopped coaching, and then I picked up a part-time role within Swindon Academy. So it was always difficult to balance the time and the efforts that you're trying to put into your studies, but also to a part-time role. But a lot of part-time coaches in academies will know that it's like having another full-time role. It's really, really difficult to balance life and your other job or studies, and then the role that you're doing at the academy. So that was a challenge, but coming into the environment and again working with some brilliant coaches, that's where I learned so much uh, from them as just a part-time age group coach, not even a goalkeeper coach at this point. And then following that, about 9 months later, they asked if I wanted to be the academy goalkeeper coach as a part-time role, which is pretty common in Cat 3 academies. But again, I had no real experience of being a goalkeeper coach as such, but I obviously played the position to not a very good level, but to some extent, and that's where I kind of got thrown into the deep end, as you will, and that was difficult, but I learned again so much in that period where I had to learn and I had to um, work as hard as I could to sink, to swim, not sink, not sink.
Yeah, I think we've both done courses in terms of the coaching qualifications, and I think that they're really
Yeah,
valuable, especially the people you work with. But it's not until you learn on the job, don't you? You learn on the being in those. I remember when I was part time at Newport, that's where I was learned the most, probably being in that environment, surrounded by different people, picking up different ideas. And sometimes you see something and you go, I didn't like that. I think that's also part of learning and
definitely.
picking up from different people. So those part-time jobs, and you spoke before about your experiences, even if it's like placements and stuff like that. I think people listening to this and might be doing the football coaching degree now. That would probably be my biggest advice: is get into as many different environments as you can, just so you can, even if it's just to understand what doesn't work for you, and
Yeah,
but also something might not work for you at one point, it might work for you later down the line. So it's not necessarily about ruling stuff out forever, but it might be in that moment, it might not work for you. And like you said, you've had lots of different experiences with that. In terms of, you said you've done bits of sort of outfield stuff. So
yeah,
you spent a lot of time in different sort of with Swindon Academy, with doing some outfield stuff, and then going in with to do some goalkeeper stuff part time.
yeah.
How have you found implementing your sort of playing philosophy in an academy where maybe they have their own philosophy, or working under a head coach as a goalkeeper coach?
Yeah.
How do you find that? Do you find that easier because you're just told how to play, but then how do you construct your sessions around a different head coach?
I think what's important firstly is when you're working with a head coach is to understand what they want from you and what they expect from you. And once you're clear from that, then you can start to implement your own beliefs and philosophy around kind of what they're going after as well. And I don't think you ever kind of be too far away from each other. It's more about just understanding like what they want and expect, and then kind of not shifting your philosophies and beliefs because they're yours and you need to stick by them, but maybe adapting them a little bit to get what the head coach wants, because at the end of the day they're the ones in charge, and we're part of their staff as a goalkeeping coach. So yeah, obviously have your conversations and have your relationships with them, because that's absolutely essential to having a good working environment as a group of staff. You have to be able to get on and be able to be open and honest with each other and have those discussions and be challenged as well, and be okay with being challenged when the head coach kind of, if he has a question or if he doesn't like something, make sure that you're being okay with being challenged. I think that's part of being a group of staff. As long as you have the answers when you are challenged, you're always in a good place.
Yeah, I'll I think putting yourself in different situations where you're wanting to learn, but from learning you have to be challenged. So I just think about, since I finished, obviously in my degree, you do your B license, so you're being critiqued by the assessor. You similarly went on to do your masters. I did my PGCE, so then you're being lesson observations. And when you go into your QTLS, lesson observations, then you go into your job. Naturally, when you're working as a teacher, lesson observations, you get observed by your head coach in most sessions. And then obviously you've done your A license goalkeeping since then. So again, you're being observed and critiqued then. So I think that's the biggest thing, is starting to feel comfortable with being criticized in a developmental way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like those experiences that you just spoken about, they just stand you in good stead for the real world of football, where you are in a group of staff and you are being challenged, and having those conversations with people where it might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. But like I say, if as long as you've got your beliefs and your philosophy and you're able to back that up with the answers that to the questions that are being posed, I think you're in a good place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget on my A license, I failed one of the assessments, and during as I was failing it, and afterwards I had feedback, you almost want the ground to swallow you up a bit. But
Yeah.
I remember it, and I've learned more from that session than the ones I pass, because naturally you reflect on them more than the ones you pass. You're almost like it's like a relief, isn't it? And you on to the next one. Whereas when you fail, you have to reflect on it to be better. So I think understanding that failure, seeing it as a learning opportunity, is massive. And I know it sounds really cliche, but that's literally the thing that sticks out to me, is failing that one observation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a powerful tool, reflection, because we've all had sessions where we've not been happy with it and we've come away from it thinking, oh, I would change that, I should have done that differently, and things like that. And that's such a powerful tool to be able to reflect honestly with yourself, rather than, like you said, just moving on and thinking, right, okay, draw a line under that, onto the next one. You learn so much more from reflecting, and then going back and maybe changing a few things and doing it again. Yeah.
In terms of, obviously, you're quite specific now with your role in terms of goalkeeping. Is there a desire, because you haven't done the outfield A, have you?
No, I've got my B license outfield.
Is there a desire to go on to do your outfield A license, or is it something that maybe you're not sure yet? We haven't thought about it.
No, definitely, I do want to do that. I think with my role at the moment, it will just help me learn even more around like the 11 format tactics. And then that'll help me in my role with the goalkeepers. Also, I'm doing a lot of IDP work with the outfielders as well. I always want to bring value to the outfielders as well, because I think it helps my goalkeepers. So it like having that kind of relationship with all the players, not just the goalkeepers, and like I say, trying to bring value to the group of staff and to the group of players as well, is important to me. So that's why I think the A license would be good. Yeah, yeah. So definitely on the cards. Yeah,
Yeah, you spoke then about sort of some IDP stuff that you're doing, and I
yeah,
think the goalkeeper coach has always been like it's almost been like a separate role, isn't it? There's always been that goalkeeper coach. I
yeah,
think now in academy football, there's a lot of IDP coaches, a lot of position specific coaches that are like, how has that changed the way in terms of your role? Do you think the goalkeeping specific role has changed in terms of
yeah.
how individualized it's become for goalkeepers, and then how does that change in terms of how do you then implement that within a team environment in terms of your sessions and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I think within the role itself is always kind of developing, and um you're always seeing loads more bolt-ons being added to the role. So it might be set pieces, attacking and defending. It might be IDP sessions. So it's really good to get hands on with it all, and it's something I enjoy a lot. Um, with the goalkeepers, I do a lot of IDP work, and like I really believe in like a holistic approach to their development. So that includes weekly meetings just to catch up, analysis meetings, individual and group analysis, and then obviously the IDP sessions on the pitch. And that doesn't really change when I work with the outfielders as well. So individual analysis meetings, involving them in IDP sessions where I will develop a session where the goalkeepers will be working, but also the outfielders will be working on their plans. So it's actually a really nice balance, and it complements each other quite nicely. Where if I'm working with a group of attackers, I can use them and help them towards their IDP to help my goalkeepers towards their IDP as well. So it's good.
In terms of the implementation of the IDPs, how often and frequent do you provide time for that? Do you have like whole sessions or time before sessions, time after sessions? How does that work?
So sessions on the pitch, they always are at the end of Tuesdays and Thursdays as our heavier load days. So that would be about 15, 20 minutes at the end of those sessions. But then throughout the week, you'll just find time with individuals to go through clips or just have a little catch up, ask how things are going. And yeah. So it's there is a structure to it. And each week we change the players that we work with. Obviously, I always have the goalkeepers on top of that, but each week we'll kind of rotate groups of 4 players, so that different staff members are having contact time with different players each week, which again has worked really well.
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's such a trendy topic. I think at the moment, IDPs. I think
Mm.
it's being pushed a lot by clubs. Like I said, there's a lot of individual development coaches at the moment that are going in just focusing on IDP and individual stuff. I thought there was interesting just about how goalkeepers have always had that position, and now it's almost seen as a niche thing that there's this independent or individual coach, when actually the goalkeepers have always done that. So
Yeah.
I think in terms of the next bit, do you want to speak a little bit about your transition then into your full-time role at Swindon, also maybe about that little bit of time you had at Tottenham, and
Yeah.
the learnings from it? And
Yeah, definitely. So obviously as my part-time as I was a part-time academy coach at Swindon, and moved into my goalkeeping coach role. About a year after that, I then moved to Tottenham. So this was last year. It was a really good experience with some great coaches and some brilliant players, and it's an experience that I learned so much about myself, but also, me as a coach. It was a challenge to move away from home, live in London by myself. All of those aspects were challenging, and that, like I say, I did learn a lot about myself as a person, but also as a coach as well. But it's an experience I'm massively grateful for. To be able to work with the coaches that I did there was brilliant, and as I say, I did learn so much from them. And then also to work with the players that I did, they were absolutely top. And yeah, the environment itself was brilliant. Yeah, and then after that, in the summer, Swindon asked if I wanted to come back as head of academy goalkeeping. So running the department with a couple of coaches underneath me, implementing the syllabus, philosophy, and everything like that throughout 9s to 18s, and then obviously opportunities to work with the first team off the back of that as well. So I just thought that role itself was better suited to me. So yeah, came back to Swindon as part of that, and this is where I'm at the moment. So running the academy goalkeeping program, and then getting some really good exposure with the first team a couple of times a week as well, working with the first team goalkeeper coach and the first team goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think we initially spoke about sort of opportunities and whether they're planned sometimes or whether some things just fall on your lap and things like that. And I think it's important to maybe have a plan, but sometimes opportunities can just fall on you that you feel like work for you, and don't you, when those opportunities come, straight away this is right for me. And it sounds like that the opportunity you've got at the moment is that, and there's lots of different things you're going to learn from it and different experiences from it. It sounds like a really good role, to be honest. In terms of advice for up and coming goalkeeping coaches, what, from your experience that you've learned, would you advise maybe people that are doing the course that you're doing?
Yeah.
Or did, sorry, the course that you did. Would you advise those people now, or those that maybe working on specific for goalkeepers?
Yeah, I think like just get out on the grass as much as possible, to learn and network as much as possible. It's the biggest thing students of the game, when I say students of the game, I just mean someone who hasn't played professional football before, or yeah, is kind of just going into football or trying to get into football from the start, right? So I think like getting out there as much as possible and networking is probably the most important thing for me. I think at USW, obviously I went there with yourself, and that's how I know yourself. And I still kind of keep in touch with all the people that I went to USW with, and then on my B licenses and my A license goalkeeping, still stay in touch with the majority of people on there as well. And that doesn't always lead to job opportunities. Well, it has done for me as well. Like, I've had some job opportunities come up from that, but also, you can ask questions. You can ask them questions on what they think about sessions, players, and it's so important to grow that network. So you can have those conversations and pick other people's brains.
Yeah, I think when you're in that environment and you're a young coach, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, can't it? When people are saying get on LinkedIn and network, and the idea of being a 19-year-old and messaging somebody that's working full time in the game, and has got loads and loads of experience, can be, like I say, really daunting. But I think as you mature and get older, those things become easier in terms of asking for help and asking for advice. Because I think, say, when you're a bit younger and you're asking for help, it can sometimes look like a weakness, especially when you're on a course of loads of other coaches and you're thinking, well, is everyone else asking for help? Because because you don't want to look like the weak one in the group, but it's seen as, I think, being proactive and wanting to get better. And that's the most important thing, is on those courses is everyone will end up on different journeys. I think of the people that are on with myself, and I think everyone's gone on to do different things, lots of different things. And it's not about comparing yourself with other people, because there's people that want to go into the men's senior game, the women's senior game, academy football, whether that's boys or girls, whether they go into the professional game, whatever it might be. So there's lots of different opportunities for people, and I think it's just about them trying to find what works for you, and speaking to the people that can advise you best around that. In terms of what's next for you, do you have future aspirations in terms of where you want an environment, or what an environment that you want to work in? Is it continuing academy football? Is it senior football? Is it, because obviously I'm guessing you still want to play a little bit alongside. So what's the aspirations for you moving forward? Is there something that you want to try in the future?
I think for now I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy working in academy football. I like the challenge of managing people in a department as well. I think for someone my age, that's a good challenge to have. I also like the experience and exposure I'm getting with first team players. And I think that's probably where I see myself hopefully getting to in the future, as a first team goalkeeper coach, or a head of goalkeeping at a club, not just head of academy goalkeeping. So that's probably the aspirations that I've got. But for right now, like I'm enjoying the challenge that I'm currently in.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Trav. Really appreciate it. I think having someone who's specific to goalkeepers on is going to be really valuable. Like we said, there's as the coaching world, I suppose, becomes very specific and more specific to positions. I think having people that are specific to a certain position is really, really insightful. So I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you enjoy the conversation, and hopefully it helps people that have been in a similar position to us that are coming through those coaching courses.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Cheers, Trav.